Good morning, Avon. I'm Sam Pearson, and you're tuned in to Channel 7 Religion News. Let's get started. So as we get started, some of you may be asking, Sam, I don't know the slightest clue about Buddhism. Where did it start? Who founded it? And what can I do to learn more about it? Well, I'm here to tell you. We'll start off our lesson today with the founder of Buddhism, Siddhartha Gautama. It is said that he founded Buddhism in the late 6th century, but one question still remains. Where did Buddhism originate? Well, researchers have tracked down that Buddhism originated somewhere in northern India. Well, with that brief recap done, our lead interviewer, JP, has a great news story with a very important Buddhist.
What inspired you to put research into Buddhism?
Well, Brother JP, I tried to follow the ways of Hinduism and find enlightenment through intense meditation. But as you may know, I was unsuccessful. I then meditated for a total of 6 years, resisting the temptations of Mara, or as you may call him,
What?
the devil.
So, Siddhartha, what causes suffering?
If you may know, brother, suffering is caused by the desire and lusts of our hearts. To escape this, you can reach nirvana by compromising extreme tolerance and finding a middle path.
Do you consider yourself as a supernatural or God?
Oh, a foolish question, JP. I never consider myself as a god or talk about how the universe was created. However, some schools and Buddhists do consider me a god. But through my teachings, you just find I am a noble teacher.
So tell me, is there a holiday for Buddhism?
Well, while most are out celebrating Christmas or Hanukkah, our most important holiday is Wesak. It is held on the full moon in May. It celebrates my birth. To celebrate, parades and parties are held on the streets, and special dinners are prepared.
Now for my final question, can all suffering end?
Well, to answer your final question, my brother, I believe that all suffering can end. If you follow my teachings, you can reach nirvana by living a happy, healthy, and honorable life. You have a good day, my friend. And back to you, Sam. Thanks, Siddhartha. And remarkable job on the interview, JP. We'll be right back after these sponsored messages. In a world where everyone on Earth is a Buddhist. Man, I sure love being a Buddha. One Buddhist will question his life. Master, I've followed the Eightfold Path, and I've looked at all the Four Noble Truths, but how will I know if I will be reincarnated or I will reach nirvana? It is all based on your karma. If you have good karma, you will be reincarnated and live the eternal life. But if you live an unrighteous, unholy life, you will live down here on Earth. So be careful. Fans rave it's the most enlightened movie of the summer. I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know if the Buddhas are right about nirvana and living a well life and that all suffering will end. Or I don't know if I should give it all up. What should I do, great Buddha statue? Half the movie is him reading the Tripitaka. So according to the Four Noble Truths, all life is suffering. Desire causes suffering. Suffering can end, and I can reach nirvana by following the Buddhist teachings. So will this Buddhist be up in nirvana? Or will he be incarnated? Coming theaters near. And we're back. Thanks for staying with us. Now it's time for a special corner of our show, or I like to call it the Conflict Corner with Braden.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, Braden, it's all you.
have a story from last year that you might have heard about. Buddhist monks were attacking Muslims in Burma and Sri Lanka. No Muslims were killed in Sri Lanka, but 40 were killed in Burma last March. The Muslims, or the religious minority in the region, are being used as an excuse for the frustrated aspirations of the majority Buddhists. Most Buddhists are very peaceful, but there are some exceptions. In 2003, a Buddhist monk was arrested for religious hatred. More recently, in March of 2013, violence against Muslims in Burma left 40 Muslims dead. A Muslim man that was involved in the fighting had said that the Buddhists fought them for hours. He also said that the police didn't show up until after the fighting was over. The fighting in the region has caused an even bigger split between the Buddhists and the Muslims. Hopefully the two sides can find peace with one another. Back to you, Sam.
Very insightful, Braden. Well, now we're back, and it's time for the show where we crack open the literature and see what's truly inside the writings of Buddhism. It's time to crack the books. Now, what some people might not know about the Tripitaka is it's basically combined of 3 chapters. Part 1 of the Tripitaka composes of 227 rules to guide Buddhists and nuns on how to live a holy life. Section 2 of the Tripitaka includes over 10,000 teachings of Buddha himself. This is one of the longest chapters in the Tripitaka. And finally, the 3rd part of the Tripitaka includes poetry, songs, and stories from Buddha's past life. And that has been Crack the Books. I'm Sam Pearson, and back to the regular show. Hopefully now you've learned a little more about the Tripitaka. Our final reporter, Hayden, is about to tell us about his person of interest story. Let's get a look on what he has to say.
Thanks, Sam. Siddhartha Gautama was Buddha, which means the enlightened one, or the awakened one. Many people think Buddha was a myth, but others think that he actually existed. Historians know very little about him, so here's a standard story of his life. He was born in the 5th or 6th century BCE. Siddhartha means he who achieves his aim. He was born in Lumbini, which is now modern-day Nepal, and he was a prince raised in luxury. His father was a king who ruled a tribe called the Shakes, and his mother died 7 days after giving birth to him. He was shielded from the knowledge of religion or human suffering. When he was 29, he asked a charioteer to take him through the countryside. During the trip, he saw an aged man, a sick man, and a corpse. These realities sickened the prince. He returned to the palace life, was not pleased by it. He realized he didn't want to live his life as a prince anymore, and that night he left the palace, shaved his head, and set out on a trip for enlightenment. He set out to find many renowned teachers that showed him how to meditate and taught him about many religious philosophies. He still had many unanswered questions, so him and 5 other disciples set out for enlightenment on their own. They tried to find release from suffering through physical discipline. They learned to endure pain and fast nearly till starving to death. Now that he grasped pleasure's opposite, he decided to choose a middle way between the two. He sat beneath a sacred Bodhi tree and settled into meditation. He became mythologized into a battle with Mara, a demon whose name means destruction. She brought armies of monsters to attack Siddhartha, who sat still and untouched. Mara's daughter tried to seduce Siddhartha, but failed. Finally, Mara claimed the seed of enlightenment belonged to him. Siddhartha touched the earth with his right hand, and the morning star rose in the sky. Siddhartha had realized he became the Buddha. He achieved his enlightenment at the age of 35. He was reluctant to teach because what he had realized could not be communicated with words. He thought people would misunderstand him, but he made an attempt. He went to India and preached his first sermon. He taught through northeast India for 45 years. He devoted himself to teaching hundreds of followers and tirelessly traveled and died at the age of 80. His last words to his followers were, "Behold, old monks, my last advice to you, all component in life in the world are changeable. They are not lasting. Work hard to gain your own salvation." Thanks. Back to you, Sam.
Great job, Hayden. But before we go, there's one more section of Buddhism we need to talk about, and that is the variety. Just to say, Buddhism is not just one single religion. It has different beliefs sprinkled out into different heritages and cultures. These are just some of them. Overall, there are 7 main types of Buddhisms. They include Korean Zen, Nichiren, Theravada, Zen, Mahayana, Pure Land, and most well-known, Tibetan Buddhism. The first form of Buddhism we'll start off with is Korean Zen. It is not only unique because it mixes Zen with Korean heritages, but it also begins the practice of Tongbalagyo, and that is a consistency of celebration since most Buddhists do not consistently celebrate holidays. Nichiren Buddhism follows the teaching of the 13th century monk with the same name. This religion believes that everyone has a Buddha inside of them and can reach total enlightenment. Theravada Buddhism is known to be the oldest branch of Buddhism, and its main goal is to teach the elders of Buddhism the way to enlightenment. Zen Buddhism offers insight to the Buddhist nature, and also heavily stresses the benefit of others. Mahayana Buddhism tries to seek the path of total enlightenment, and they follow the path of Bodhisattva, or the enlightened being, instead of the Eightfold Path. Pure Land Buddhism offers enlightenment for people who can't handle the subtleties of meditating, endure long rituals, or just live good lives and don't want to give up their materials. Finally, Tibetan Buddhism is the religious doctrine that makes up most of the Buddhist heritages. It is the most well-known and is led by the Dalai Lama. Well, everyone, that concludes this episode of Religion News. We hope you had a great time and learned something today. You make today a great day, and stay Buddhist, America.